Hello and welcome in. This is the Victim Paradigm Podcast, where each week it is my privilege to host a part of the Unavoidable reality series, where we attempt to have real conversations and shed light on subjects that most of us would rather avoid or simply ignore completely. My name is Evie Zamora, Certified Women's Life Coach and Women's Program Director for Teshuva Outreach. I specialize in women's issues, from trauma-related past experiences with an intimate partner, also known as domestic violence, as well as all types of emotional, sexual, and spiritual abuse from all sorts of sources. May they be parents, spouse, boss, peer, friend, or even leader of a ministry, community, or organization, both virtually and live. It's interesting to me that it takes a lifetime to grow and find the pieces along the way that help us to realize the finished product. Good isn't always good in the way we think about it. Sometimes it's simply a glimmer of hope, just as bad is not always perceived as evil. Sometimes it may have an element of good that just hasn't blossomed completely, or it may be concealed, and the truth of evilness intentions are there. I have a disclaimer. Abusers are damaged human beings that have not chosen to mend their brokenness or have the desire to change. So they typically stay in that state of deception and fill the holes in their lives with victims to complete the void. A person of spiritual integrity realizes their shortcomings and brokenness and aspires to become mended so that they can become equipped and able to serve as the Almighty expects in their everyday lives. The commitment that a person makes to Yahweh, our God, is pivotal and where we must begin when our hearts are willing as a solid platform to grow in a way that's congruent with the Father's will. With absence of deceit, everything else will follow in His timing. Today I thought of a friend that has a Bible study online. A few days ago I decided to take a minute and see what she had to say. As I watched and listened to the devotional, I saw in my mind a pattern like that of Swiss cheese. No disrespect intended, it was full of holes, some big, some tiny, and some that were almost opaque like that of a spider's web. It reminded me of our walk. When we get to the point of making a solid commitment to seek Him with our entire heart and being, we are suddenly aware of holes in our story as it has developed. He gives us opportunity to make the changes necessary, to come alongside Him with an expectation of running everything through Him as we begin to fill the holes of self and seal the corners. When it does not fit completely, we must ask ourselves, what is missing? Does He want more of us, or do we just need practice and polish? Keeping these thoughts in mind, I'll begin today with a recap. 2 weeks ago, we began our journey using a 7-step process to get to the point of being so close in our relationship with the Almighty that it's hard to see a coinciding point where we connect and hopefully overlap. That first essential step is where we make the commitment to change. Not just for what seems right, but change to become as close to the Father's way as possible. Previous to this decision, we were prone to go our own way, bouncing our thoughts and feelings off of friends and family members that seemed interested in our well-being, but may have an agenda to get details or to just like new material for their gossip circle. In between this week and 2 weeks ago, we took a slight hiatus to talk about cognitive dissonance and trauma bonds. Let me refresh your memory. We created a hypothetical story of a single woman dealing with a boss who was hot and cold, depending on her selfish gain in the relationship. Let's pretend that the woman was you. It caused conflict in your brain, and because of job perks, geographic location to your house, friendships, and career advance opportunity that was promised within a year, all in all, the good seemed to outweigh the boss's evil intentions. Knowingly, you had learned to overlook your boss's narcissistic behavior and consoled yourself to stay in spite of the conflicting game it seemed to play consistently with your mind. You struggled to feel competent, worthy, and satisfied where you were. This takes us to the logical next step, securing a discovery guide or coach. I'm not trying to insinuate that leaving is always the answer, but looking at the situation, the conclusion, and the obvious reality is important to rationalize and reconcile within yourself. This is something that needs to happen, and if you can't resolve this for yourself, you need help. But don't be afraid. It's not really the norm to be able to see a pit covered with tree branches and leaves and simply walk around it. Most of us were taught not to be reactionary and give everything the benefit of the doubt. This is wise counsel, depending on the circumstances. But think about this. Wiser counsel may be to learn the art of discernment. Yahweh gave us people in a coaching role to walk alongside us, to sort through our past baggage, whether it's been 6 months, 2 years, or 20, 30, 40, or 50 years that has caused us to second guess our initial thoughts of apprehension. Once we realize there's a non-cohesive spirit, if you will, we need to question why. Of course, we'll question why it's happening. Everyone does. But the next thought after should be, however, I can only control myself, so what should I do? Should I stay there? Or should I go? And then what? You can always pray. The problem comes when we pray and then stay. Let me encourage you to bounce this off of someone else that's not related by friendship or blood. Give them the facts and seek a reaction. They'll probably ask you a few pointed questions, starting with, how do you feel about this? Your guiding coach will probably pause there to visit your answer if it's that you're going to stay for a while. You've seen, heard, and feel conviction that you're displaced, but for some reason you're going to validate the abuser or controlling behavior of the person you've chosen to stay with. When there is not definite cognitive dissonance going on, it is apparent by your answer that you've started an unhealthy relationship and you're choosing to move on. When you start something new, whether it be a new relationship, a new job, or you become part of a new community and you see a disconnection, you have a choice that will be easier to choose wisely and separate from now before the dissonance becomes like an adhesive. Let me remind you of the simple definition of cognitive dissonance. It is the conflict in your brain that makes discernment difficult. Something that you're being told seems off somehow, but you're willing to unknowingly compromise your integrity. This usually happens when you're in a vulnerable state. You find yourself caught in a spider's web, being consumed. Remember, The spider built the web not to make something pretty for you to enjoy. It looks that way, but it's really because it's his very nature to lure you in. Abusive, controlling, narcissistic, selfish, cultish seeking, fill in the blank. People, when change is not pursued, the supporting behavior of these characteristics comes naturally. I'm going to venture to say that most abusers were abused as children, or they witnessed abuse as normal in their lives, and they don't realize that there's any other way to be. I'm not making excuses. I'm simply saying they have had abuse in their lives almost 10 out of 10 times. Most of the time, they exchange victims, but don't stop the abusive behavior. And wherever it begins, it usually continues to get worse over time. These are statistics, my friend. I'm not making it up. So do not stay in a relationship that hints or blatantly displays dissonant behavior, thinking that Yahweh has you here for a reason. I can almost see the angels singing as you say this. Would a good earthly father allow his daughter to be abused so that he could use you as an example for abusers not to be the way they are? No, that's twisted. However, Yahweh will allow you to go on your own way and lift his hand from the outcome if you've chosen out of his will. Some people believe that Yah has sent them to a particular person, and now they're obligated to stay, even when the abuse begins. He may have sent you so that you can practice and polish your skill to make wise decisions. Now, at this point, you may be saying, well, that's easy for you to say. I just moved across the country, gave up friends and family because I felt that Yahweh wanted me to have this relationship. It seems so right. Well, except for the feelings of control, openly shaming remarks, and the questions of my ability to think for myself as an adult. How do I just leave? That is where a good coach comes in, my friend, to help you navigate through the choppy waters and get back to level ground. I'm about to pray, and this is the prayer that I want you to think about. And I'm going to pray on your behalf and hope that you'll at least consider taking a look at what's going on. Please understand, I hear these stories and read these stories every single day, not just one or two. Father, what is this about? I'm asking for your wisdom that outweighs all other reason. Is this a lesson in decision making, or is this another self-inflicted consequence from going my own way? I need help in making this decision, and I need it fast. I've been in this dilemma before, and it was pretty plain to see. Now it seems foggy somehow. In the beginning, I thought this relationship was for me, a gift from you somehow. But now I've seen flags, small ones in the beginning, and now I'm looking for reasons to stay away, and I don't feel as motivated to be with this person as before. It's this critical that I see the truth and get rid of the constant confusion in my brain. I feel like I'm going crazy sometimes, like I can't even make a decision anymore because these insistent questions make me feel unsure about the truths I've learned and what I'm feeling. I thought I had learned my lesson before, Won't you please hear my prayer and ease the pain and questions that keep encircling me? What do you want me to do? Abba, I will do whatever you say. Please give me a clear sign as soon as possible. I will follow you in Teshuva as soon as I get your answer, if that's necessary. I want to Shema, to hear from you and do what you say. Please, Father, hear my prayer today. In the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Amen ve'amen. At the end of what I was saying before, the last sentence should have been, so people ask me continuously, is this abuse? Should I stay or should I go? It's hard sometimes to tell people what they don't want to hear. I posted a reference to this presentation under the resource tab of the Teshuva Outreach website. Please check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you for being here with me this evening, and I look forward to hearing from you. If you have questions, comments, are currently in an abusive relationship, or you'd like for me to be the person that you bounce your situation off of, just to get another perspective of what you're going through, consider getting in touch with me. I'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, I'll encourage you to start taking inventory of what's going on and keep track of what is bothersome to you, what you've accepted even though you know it's wrong or suspect it's wrong, and there's a nagging feeling that something's not right. I'm going to encourage you to stay focused. And if the Father so wills, see you next week. Shalom, shalom.